So remember that when we take the square root of x squared, it becomes x. It simplifies to x. So if you have an index of 2 and an exponent of 2, they're inverses. They undo each other, and you just get the x back out. Same thing, this is a little bit more complicated, but the square root, parentheses to the second power, and that's going to simplify to be the 3x plus 7. It just comes out of the radical. And we use this back to solve problems in that last unit with radicals like this, where we took each one and we raised both sides to the second power, and we got that x plus 3 was 49, and then x was equal to subtract 3, 46. So to solve it, we squared both sides. We're going to do the same thing, but in reverse in this unit. So let's just go here. Example 1, solve by factoring. So I want to solve this, and I want to solve it with factoring, and I see that I've got the x squared, or the m squared. And remember, if we have a square, then to solve it, we need a 0 on one side and everything else to the other. So I'm going to subtract my 81 and get this. Then I'm going to factor, so that's m minus 9 and m plus 9 is equal to 0. Then we'll set each factor equal to 0, so we'll come up with an m is 9 and m is also negative 9. So there's my solutions, 9 and negative 9. All right, so what we want to do is this time we're going to try solving by taking the square root of both sides of the equal. So if I do that, then I will have, I'm going to take the square root of the left side and the square root of the right side. Well, we've talked about how the square root of m squared is m, and the square root of 81 is 9. But wait, this answer gave me 2. It gave me both the 9 and the negative 9, but square root of 81 was just 9. So remember that there are actually two numbers that multiply to be 81, both 9 and negative 9. So when I take the square root of both sides, in order to get both solutions, I'm going to have to put this symbol right here of a plus over a minus in front of it. So that notation with plus or minus 9 is read plus or minus 9, and it's shorthand notation for both plus 9 and negative 9 for my answers. All right, so just stating the square root property, if a squared is equal to b, we'll take the square root of both sides and get that a is equal to plus or minus the square root of b, which is written right there. So let's look at some examples. So example 2 says solve using, and it tells us the square root property. So now, in order to use the square root property, we're going to do it a little different from when we were factoring. So in factoring, we wanted a 0. But when we're doing a square root property, what we want to do is we want to isolate the radical. So I'm going to then add my 30 to the other side and get 6x squared is equal to 30. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 6 and get that x squared is equal to 5. So I'm not isolating the radical, am I? I'm isolating the x squared, so the square term. So once I get my square term isolated, then I'm going to now use the square root property, and I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And when I do, I'm going to put that little plus or minus in front of my 5. So the square root of x squared is x, and then I get plus or minus 5, square root of 5 for my answer. So my answer is actually square root of 5 and negative square root of 5. So 2 answers. All right, so stop it and try this one so you're not confused by anything else. It's just like that one. So give that a try. All right, so now let's look at example C. And for C, again, this time it's a little more complicated, but if I'm going to solve using the square root property, I'm going to isolate the square. You see this whole thing is my square. So key, isolate the square. And then after I do that, then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of this parenthesis squared is just the inside. t minus 5, and then this is going to be plus. Don't forget that plus or minus. That's something you just want to get into a habit of doing automatically. Plus or minus, and the square root of 16 is 4. So now I need to solve it. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So t is going to be equal to 5 plus or minus 4. Now this answer is not finished yet. I need to go one more step. And so I'm actually going to have that t is going to be equal to 5 plus 4, or t is also equal to 5 minus 4. So take this and use the plus for the first one and the minus for the second one. So I see that t is equal to 9 and t is equal to 1. So those are my two solutions. And so now you're ready to try D. And now I'll stop and go to the next video.